Education will now resume its October 17th, 2024 regular board meeting. If everyone would please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you all. Would you please take attendance for our student representatives?
Santi? Carla? AJ?
Welcome, students. AJ, we are very happy that you can join us. Did we have a, did you want to do? Oh, yeah.
So AJ was not available to join us last month, so we introduced you while you weren't here, but we'll go ahead and introduce you again. So everybody, this is AJ from London, who is the student representative from London. Very happy to have you here. And I think you weren't able to join us last month because you were competing in a Taekwondo competition, is that right? Yeah, so AJ has traveled the world and competed in Taekwondo. So, and I think it went pretty well for you, didn't it? I remember asking, yeah. 2 golds, 1 silver. So we're really happy to have you. Thanks for coming.
Awesome, thank you so much. I see Pat Horker from the Village of Wheeling. Do I see any other elected officials here? Well, welcome, Pat. Thank you for joining us. October is National Principals Month. I would like to recognize our principals and thank them for our dedication as school leaders, and thank you for your commitment to our community. Any individual that is physically present at the meeting that would like to address the board must complete a comment card and provide it to Ms. Del Real on my left, your right. Anyone virtually attending wishing to address the board must complete the public comment form linked on the agenda, and written public comments may also always be submitted via email. We are going to start tonight with celebrations and awards. Dr. Connolly.
Thank you. We are very happy to be able to present quite a few celebrations and awards this evening. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Olivia Aguado, our public health liaison, to come on up and make our first 2 award presentations. Olivia.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. The energy in the room feels amazing, so thank you. I do have a couple of notes. It's my first time at the podium, so.
That's so hard to believe.
It is. On behalf of Community Consolidated School District 21, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude and present this plaque to Chicago Fade Lounge. If you could please stand up. And join me at the podium for their generous donation of haircuts at our recent back to school event. Your contribution played a significant role in helping our students start the school year with confidence and excitement. Your kindness and support made a real difference, ensuring our students felt prepared and valued as they returned to the classroom. The smiles on their faces during the haircuts were a true testament to the positive impact of your donation. It's partnerships like this that help us create a welcoming and nurturing environment to the students of School District 21. On behalf of the entire school district, we sincerely thank you.
Take some pictures right in the middle.
Yep.
Come on, middle. And 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Next award. On behalf of Community Consolidated School District 21, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Good Neighbors Network. If you can please join me, Yolanda. For their generous contribution of backpacks, water bottles, and locker organizers. Their support has made a significant impact on the students and families we serve, showing them that their community cares deeply about their well-being and success. We are truly grateful for the continued support from Good Neighbors Network. Yolanda, your dedication to giving back to the community and our students is truly heartwarming and inspiring. On behalf of the entire school district, we sincerely thank you.
One, two, three.
And I would like to recognize Wheeling Helping Hands for their years and years and years of donations to our community, including donating food baskets, helping with the shopping with the cops, and thousands of dollars worth of gift cards to our students. And I'd like to bring up Tony Stavros, who's the president of Wheeling Helping Hands, and Chris Brady, the secretary. I want to say on behalf of the school district and the board, we extend our heartfelt gratitude for the generous donations that you've made to our students, enriching their lives and partnering with us. We are just so grateful. And I also want you to name the members of your board of directors, if you wouldn't mind, and recognize them as well.
Well, some of them aren't here tonight, but Jan and Larry are. Schmidt, stand up. James, is she here? Oh, that's good. Hiding over. My wife, Chris. Vivian Smith, Kathy Pico. Kathy Brady. Bill. Cheryl Brady, Carlos, her husband, and Mike Burns. There's Mike Burns.
Tony, Kathy Pico. Did you get Kathy?
I did, didn't I? Yes. I did, she raised her hand.
So before we take the picture, I just want to add one more thing on. So Cass, when she said thousands, it's a lot. So since the organization came together, Wheeling Helping Hands has donated to over $52,000 to various D21 families and projects. So, I mean, that's just an incredible contribution to the community, and in general, in all of the combined community projects that they take on, $360,000 donated. So just an amazing contribution. So.
One, two, three. Perfect.
I'd just like to say that thank you to District 21 for this. And Wheeling Helping Hands started in 2016. It's just a group of us that's up there. It's expanded a little bit. When it started, it was a little bit smaller than that. And Sam Pappas, who had Market Square, was a big driver of this. It was easy to have our pig roasts and everything because the restaurant was right there. And I always ended up cooking the pigs, but we did have a coat and winter pants giveaway to students that needed it, like last couple of weeks. And I believe there's still some left. Dave Vogel, who isn't here tonight, is our treasurer. He sent a letter out to the schools, and he didn't get a lot of responses from some of them for some reason, whatever I was told. And I believe there's some left yet. So he's not in town, that's why he's not here. But should anybody know somebody that needs some clothing, I believe we have some available yet, because I don't forget how many thousands of dollars worth of clothing we purchased, but there is some, I think, available yet, so just to let you know.
And we'll have one of our social workers follow up.
Great.
Definitely.
I appreciate
Appreciate it.
that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I will say Dave had called me and told me those were really high-quality coats that were available, really quality stuff, so I'm sure we'll make use of them. Thank you again. Thank you, Mayor, for coming out tonight.
Okay, so we have some celebrations and recognitions in addition to the awards that we've just handed out. We're going to start off, let's make sure we're getting the order right on our, yes, so I'm going to ask Tracy Crowley, who is one of our sixth grade teachers over at London, to come up and introduce our National Nordic honorees, and maybe talk to us a little bit about what that is.
Hello, I'm Tracy Crowley, sixth grade science teacher at London Middle School. It's a pleasure to share our Climate and Ecosystems Art Project and celebrate our three amazing seventh grade students, Aurora Arzmendi, Priscilla Hernandez, and Frankie Hawk, who is in the school play at London this evening, so she won't be joining us. Our goal in science each year on my team and in our school and in our district is to not only help students develop a deep love of science, but also to feel empowered to make changes in the world around them. These young people have done just that. Last spring, we came across an opportunity for our sixth graders to enter a polar art contest, which highlighted their science and art skills and also their passion for using their education for good. Priscilla, do you want to say a few words? And then we'll show you their art. It's really good.
I want to say I feel happy and proud to be selected among all the wonderful people that submitted artwork. It is cool to think that people all over the world can see climate change art and maybe be inspired.
Okay, so I think on the next slides are their actual artwork and their artist statement. We won't read the whole statement to you, but this is an oil canvas that Aurora here created on her own time with her own art supplies. And it's just incredible. If you were to see the actual piece in person, it's mind-blowingly good. This is Frankie Hawk, who's next door in the play. She created a polar bear sculpture out of clay. An interesting story with this one, this arrived broken when we sent it to them, but they had a great discussion, and Frankie herself said, it's symbolic of climate change and what it's doing to our ecosystems and our polar creatures. So really pretty profound for a sixth grade student. They're so talented in more ways than one. And this is Priscilla's amazing artwork. I particularly love the bear with this head sticking out. It's really great. But if you guys want to take a minute just to look at her artistic statement, they really thought long and hard. And Priscilla did this on her own with her older sister over the summer. I didn't even know she submitted to the contest. And the other two, came from their heart, the statements. So Really moving, really memorable, and we plan to expand this year.
Well, thank you very much. I think one of the things that is so powerful is when students are able to engage with their world and really kind of explore the environment around them and kind of try and begin to start thinking about solutions to problems and representing those. And art is one of those profound ways of being able to send that message. So congratulations and keep it up. And I got to tell you, we're very proud of our student artists. We have a number of art selections from students that we've started to mount, and we have a greeting card for the holiday season where we ask students to design those cards. And I see some artistic talent here and in many other places. So hopefully, Aurora and Frankie and Priscilla, draw us a holiday card. Let's see if we can keep this going. So thank you so much for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. Everybody give them a round of applause again. So to wrap up our celebrations tonight, I'm going to ask Amy Breiler, who is our Director of Teaching and Learning for Literacy and the Arts, to come to the podium, and she's going to talk a little bit about Tarkington's Summer Reading Challenge and something that has come district-wide as an outgrowth of some of the work that has been done over the summer for literacy. So Amy, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm really excited to share that over the summer. Actually, in the last 2 years, we have been doing some pilot work with an online reading incentive program called Beanstack. And the library media specialists in the elementary schools have really been the driving this incentive and really encouraging students to bolster their independent reading inside and outside of school. This platform is an online platform that has students, it takes the days of the old reading logs, you had to log the days that you read and how many, and the books that you read, and then how many minutes, and then it gamifies it and incentivizes it. So it started at Tarkington a couple of years ago. Ryan Rivers piloted at Tarkington and had such great success with it that last year we really worked with all of the elementary library media specialists and partnered with the Indian Trails Library because they use the platform as well, and did partner with them on their summer reading program. And Tarkington received a reward this year from Beanstack. They were one of 50 schools across the United States that read 57,806 minutes throughout the summer. So from Beanstack, they received a $100 gift card to buy library books for the school. So that was pretty great. And then they also ran a math challenge, and yes, I can talk math. Carolyn would be very proud, that it wasn't through Beanstack, but they logged the number of minutes of math activities that they did over the summer as well, and they had 14,000 minutes and 60 minutes of math activities at the end of the summer. So that was pretty amazing as well. So if you move to the next slide, yes. So as I said, we are really looking at, increasing the amount of reading that students are doing inside and outside the classrooms. And this year, after our pilot last year, it was so successful, kids were very excited. The library media specialists across the district in middle school as well as elementary, so kindergarten through 8th grade, are using this incentivized platform to increase the number of reading minutes that we are seeing students do. So we have a district challenge this year. We have a 700,000 minutes that we are asking students to read across the district. And I have a feeling that I'm going to have to increase that because as of today, we had about 470,000 minutes already being read, which is very exciting. The library media specialists are running challenges throughout the trimester and throughout each month for Monarch Awards. They're running Blue STEM Awards, fall reading incentives, so that kids can compete against each other and then log their minutes. Information is coming out in the November newsletter for parents, how to encourage that at home, how they can log in at home and look at the number of minutes that their students read, and it's all in that gamified platform. So we're really excited to see how many actual minutes our students read in District 21 this year.
So again, I really appreciate everybody coming out tonight and celebrating and just kind of getting a small snapshot of the really great things that are happening in District 21 in our schools. And I think it's always nice to take a little bit of time to just, celebrate. Sometimes we get into that day-to-day life and, we're dealing with everything that comes up, and it's good to take a step back and kind of know that there's a lot of talent and a lot of great things going on, and a lot of people who care about our kids and are willing to go beyond the call of duty to support them. So again, thank you everybody who has come out tonight to be recognized and to celebrate with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, now it's the more business part of the meeting. We all look forward to the celebrations. They're great, but we also have work to do. So now we're on the board communication part of the agenda. The first item is the NSSEO update. NSSEO, for those that are here that don't know, is the Northwest Suburban Special Education Organization. I am a representative, and they actually had something that they would like me to read because they are in the process of doing their strategic plan. I would like to provide the board members a quick update on where NSSEO is with their strategic planning process. You have been provided the timeline of the process, and later this month, NSSEO will be provided with the environmental scan by their consultants, Hazard, Young, and Atiyah. As a reminder, the environmental scan is the report that is developed from all the data that has been gathered from interviews, focus groups, an online survey, and other internal data sources, which provides a perspective of the state of NSSEO, which will serve as a starting place for the writing of the plan in December. Each of the 8 member districts will be represented and have a hand in authoring the plan, along with various administrators and staff from NSSEO. The environmental scan presentation will occur at the NSSEO Governing Board meeting on November 6th at 7 p.m. All board members are welcome to view the presentation at the link that I can provide, and following the meeting, I can provide a link to the recorded meeting at your request. Member districts will be providing 3 representatives to the meetings selected by our superintendent, so Dr. Connolly will give us our representatives to write the NSSEO strategic plan. These meetings will occur on December 3rd and December 10th from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. So, quite the endeavor. NSSEO has not had a strategic plan done in at least 15 years. So it is nice to see that not only is NSSEO working on it, so are several of our feeder districts. So it's anyone who's interested in the timeline and everything, I will be glad to pass down on the link and everything to you. So next is EdRed. Bill.
Thank you, Debbie. Just a couple of quick reminders, as EdRed has not met in the past month. The kickoff luncheon is tomorrow. If anybody needs a ride, please let me know. And EdRed's first monthly meeting of the school year will be held here on Friday, November 8th at 1:30. There'll be both an in-person and a virtual option. That's it for EdRed.
Jessica, do you have any updates for EdRed?
No, I don't.
Okay. Then we'll go on to IASB, which is also Bill.
Okay, thank you. I had to take off my glasses to be able to read this one. It's a little bit longer. IASB's North Cook Division fall meeting was held late last month. Most of us were able to attend and both listen to our area representatives discuss a number of issues, as well as have a number of one-on-one discussions with our representatives. I know I spoke to a few of the legislators, including Senator Johnson, about our new health center and how it could be adapted, the concept, to the needs of other school districts in the area. Additionally, I was on a Zoom call with IASB Associate Executive Director of Governmental Relations, Sarah Miller, and various Cook County school administrators and board members discussing the Cook County Paid Leave Ordinance set to go into effect on January 1st, 2025. After the discussion, which actually sprung from that division dinner meeting, and comments from our legislators, IASB has agreed to take a position on the ordinance and work with other stakeholders, including IASBO, to encourage the county to amend the ordinance. So we're running up against a very fast-running clock, but hopefully something could get done before January 1st. And that is it for ISB.
Okay, thank you, Bill. North Cook ISC, Arlen?
Last month, I presented you with a updated report from North Cook. Nothing new there. Things are moving along. Budget is in good shape. Financially, we're in good shape, and lots of new programs happening. So, but you do have the update from last month that Letitia sent to everybody.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have an update for the 708 board?
I do. 708 board has met and are meeting on a very compressed time schedule to try to put together a budget, potential budget for next year. They actually completed their assessment of community needs, which showed about $1,250,000 within Wheeling Township need for additional services. And within that, the primary area of lacking service is in substance abuse. There's virtually nothing happening within the township in that area. So they're moving ahead with that. However, the Wheeling Township Board has yet to vote to actually levy, and so that's still hanging. So they may have a budget for next year, but not have additional funds for next year, despite the community need.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Stacy, do you have any updates on that? No. Okay. Now for our local government updates. Bill, do you have anything else?
I'm done.
Okay. Arlen, anything else at all?
Nothing major. That's a very interesting set of races in Arlington Heights for mayor and trustee this year. So that we'll be watching that.
Oh, thank you. Stacy?
There we go. 2 quick updates. Thank you to Cass for joining me at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. The Taste of the Town is coming up on Wednesday, October the 30th, 5 to 8 p.m. at Chevy Chase. You can buy your tickets now. They're $35 now, I think, and then $40 at the door. But always a big event, and I would expect it to be packed solid again this year. And I spoke with the executive director of the chamber this morning, who wanted to, again, relay his appreciation for the usage of this room, both for a legislative forum as well as a manufacturing event. Both people loved. We had a ton of legislators here. President Horker was on the panel for the Small Business Forum, but it was a great way to get people in the building. And we had Congressman Schneider, Senator Johnson, as well as Representative Canty and Representative Katzmule. So it was a great event. And a couple of days ago, I was able to attend Wheeling Police Department's annual cancer fundraiser. That one is near and dear to my heart, as it was started for our very own former SRO, Chris Parr, who passed away a few years ago from breast cancer. So everybody got patches again. We got pink patches for everybody. So if you want to pass one down that way. It was a great community event. I was thrilled to be there, and I was equally thrilled to get a patch for everybody. The police department is incredibly supportive of our middle school programs. Our SRO from Holmes was front and center collecting money for apple pies. And it's my understanding that we have a new officer in Scott Livard's old role. So hopefully she'll come around and introduce herself. But again, it was a great event, and I was thrilled to be able to be there and participate.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's all.
Phil, do you have anything?
The only comment I've got is that from last month's meeting, I mentioned that I was having a meeting with one of the Cook County commissioners in relation to things going on at my workplace. But I also took the opportunity, about 15 minutes, to discuss the legislation that Bill mentioned that's supposed to take effect January of 2025. He indicated that he was definitely understanding of our position, as well as other municipalities. And he was working with Commissioner Britton and others to try and amend that piece of legislation. That's it.
Thank you. Dagmar, did you have anything? Jessica?
I do have a couple quick notes for the month. I just wanted to note on the IASB North Cook dinner that I think most of us attended. I just thought it was so cool to see a full panel of women legislators. I know we talk frequently here at the board meetings about career paths for our kiddos, and I just thought that's probably not something that you would have seen 10, 15 years ago, let alone any other time in the past. I mean, obviously I appreciated how much they spoke to us about the legislative subjects at hand and were receptive to discussion with us. I just thought that was really neat to kind of point out. In other news, though, Indian Trails Library is doing the Day of the Dead Community Altar again this year. It's just an absolutely beautiful community connection opportunity. I think there's still time for you to submit a loved one if you'd like to, or just go see it. I think it's something they're probably going to do every year now. It's really incredible. Indian Trails is also doing an essential item supply swap this year on November 23rd. You can go that morning and drop off any new, unused, unexpired personal hygiene items. And you can come back later in the morning to pick up anything that you or your loved ones might need. I want to give a shout out to London Middle School players tonight who are currently performing their fall play, Gravestone Manor. My husband and son are there tonight supporting our daughter and all the other players. Don't worry, I'm going to go see it tomorrow. Maybe some of you will join me. It's a series of monster-themed vignettes. My daughter plays a vampire in a dating show, and I cannot wait to see it. I want to give kudos to the London and Cooper Middle Schools for their participation in District 214's Choir Fest last week. Just a fantastic opportunity for them to experience a high school choir and an incredibly talented high school choir. And a taste of what to expect if they continue on, either at BG High School. And then I want to give a hearty good luck to our 8th graders as they take their high school placement test next week. You guys are going to do great.
Okay, thank you so much. And the last item under board communication is the student representatives report.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn it over to our representatives here in just a moment, but I just want to kind of set a little bit of a context of at least a portion of what their report is going to be about tonight. Back in September, we held the first Superintendent Student Advisory Council meeting on a Friday afternoon, and we had students from Holmes and London and Cooper meet here. And what I like to do in those advisory meetings is to try and gain feedback from students on various issues and kind of do some focus groups. And so, as the board, I'm sure, is aware, and as many in the audience or who may be watching at home are aware, of late, there has been a lot of increasing amount of conversation about the role of cell phones in schools, and whether or not they are a distraction to the educational environment, if it adds to mental health concerns for students, and as you might expect in kind of the world in which we live, there's a lot of thoughts on both sides. There's not any kind of necessarily strong consensus about, are these good things, are these bad things, are they, when we're talking about safety and security, there's very strong understandable feelings that parents have about being able to contact students, and we have many examples of events in our society where that has been an issue. So I wanted to, because I have been asked by community members as well as by a couple of board members, what are we doing about that? Are we looking at anything? And so I wanted to start kind of having some conversations to kind of get some information and see if this is a subject that really is something that we need to dig in a little deeper on. I think this is important to be a community conversation, again, because there is no strong consensus one way or the other about how to proceed. But I wanted to get some insight from our students as well, since they're living it. And so that was the focus group that we did. We split up into groups, and each group had a specific question that they discussed and shared their feedback on. So I wanted our student representatives to just kind of give a little bit of a flavor of what feedback students gave. And then obviously they'll have an opportunity to kind of report anything specifically from their schools as well. So AJ, do you want to go first? Okay, great.
So from my perspective as a student, So from my perspective, I've been seeing some kids following the rules, like keeping their phones out of sight, but others, like they're looking on TikTok and browsing other apps when they're not supposed to. And like if they're like in the back, they have an advantage to look their phone. And I believe that's disrupting their learning, and I feel like that shouldn't be the case, and that really needs to be solved. And then also, I learned that kids can't also be on their phones before school, but they're allowed to after class. But some people, like, they bring it along with their pockets, and although it should be out of sight, it's still a distraction, especially like in the hallways where they could bump into other people. Or if like, I've seen some kids cross the road while looking on their phone, and if they're not looking where they're going, they could be in danger. So I feel like they should be more responsible of how they use their time. And I also feel like that's disrupting the learning environment, and that they should be paying attention in class when the teacher or another student is speaking or responding. That's all I have to say. Wait, I have one more thing to add. Also, it's not also about the phones, it's also about the Chromebooks as well. Like, some people really like to game, and sometimes it also disrupts the learning. Like, I know a few friends of mine, like, they're good students, but they've also been reporting that, like, some kids, like there's this Thrively assignment, I'm in academic lab, and, like, usually Mr. Daniels, who's the teacher for that classroom, he says that you need to like take your time, type in the response or the question, and it should take like at least 10 minutes. But some people like they procrastinate, but some like they don't even like try to do the assignment because like they're busy hiding their phone under their Chromebook doing TikTok, or some's going on this website called coolmathgames.com, and some are trying to find other gaming websites while doing their work. And like sometimes when Go Guardian's on, they get angry since like the teachers are trying to control their learning environment, they're trying to pay attention. So that's also our problem as well. Some of the students are angry.
And I think we caught wind of coolmathgames.com that had nothing to do with math games, and so I think that's been blocked, right? Yeah. So, but every now and then they find a way around. So, yeah. Okay. Hey, did you have any specific updates from London that you wanted to share?
Yeah. Today, good luck to all the people doing the fall play, Gravestone Manor, and it's free for today and tomorrow, which is Friday. And then also the choir contest went on Wednesday, which is like 10/9, like the October 9th one. And physical testing, like the push-ups, sit-ups, running tests, it happened this week and last week. So congrats to like all the people who did well in my school for that. And then near the end of October is going to be the orchestra festival. I'm part of it, and so some of my classmates as well. Good luck to that. And we're also going to be having a bingo night in London where some London leaders are going to help, and some can come with their families to have fun and like get prizes and participate in activities and games. And then the clubs, math counts, soccer, cross country, art club, and yearbook club's happening right now, and next week the chess club's gonna start. And then one more thing, so the yearbook contest and the season's greetings cards began, and then the theme for the yearbook is like better together, where like communities come together, like no matter what your race, gender, or how you look, like you need to be together because sometimes you need to like count on others. So that's the gist for that, and that's all the updates I have. So
right.
thank you.
Thanks, AJ. Appreciate it. Santi?
I I concur with AJ's thought on phones in class, but I feel like students, like there's no really set of rules. So then students bring their phone to class and then they're like, oh, I didn't know that that was a rule. So I feel like that we kind of have to get some rules in just so like we could have a set in stone, like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. Then another thing is that as these social media platforms start to form and there's more and more being added, a lot of students have seen unkind or harmful content, whether it's on Snapchat, somebody's stories, you're scrolling through TikTok, somebody's Instagram. So I feel like that we could have a little bit more restrictions on that. But then another thing is 7th and 8th grade teachers, like even though the kids' phones are away in their Chromebook, a lot of them still don't want like kids to have it in class, and that they shouldn't even have it during lunch, which I know, like I think that that's a rule at homes, that you're able to have it during lunch. And then of course the students think otherwise, where they have a sense of idea like, oh, let's have it during lunch just so we could like pass the time easier. But then I feel like that phones in school shouldn't be allowed even during our free time, even during lunch, because it still disrupts the community, because like it disrupts the conversation that usually happens during lunch. And if everyone's on their phone scrolling, nobody's going to talk. They're all glued to their phones. And then also, if they bring it to class after lunch, that could also start causing problems. So those are my thoughts on phones in school.
Great. Any updates from Cooper for you?
So really quick, cross country, going to state. Let's go, Cooper. Yep. And then something really exciting happened. A while ago, Cooper has started a new magazine or newspaper, some would say, started by a bunch of 6th and 7th graders in our school. This newspaper has stopped until the last couple years from a lack of participants, so I feel like it's great to see people bringing back an old club and having more involvement in the school.
Great. Thanks very much, Santi. Carla, about homes.
Yeah, so what I noticed in the advisory council was that students have very different opinions on cell phones at homes. Some students want more restrictions and others want less during the school day. And I noticed that our own middle schools like Cooper, London, and Holmes have different norms for cell phone use in each of the buildings. And I think it would be nice if we could collect more information about cell phone use in school. Updates on homes. We had a great effort by the cross-country team. Basketball tryouts started, and I noticed that more people are trying out for clubs, like more 8th graders are trying out for clubs and activities than the prior years, like in 6th or 7th. We had prom tryouts, and they have started practicing for games. The clubs that are going on right now are chess club, student council, art club, media club, peer leaders, and yearbook club. Night of the ensembles is tonight for all the bands that are going on tonight. And we also have our hangout at homes tomorrow, I think. And we also have literacy night. I'm pretty sure it's next week on Wednesday. So yeah, that's it.
Great, thanks very much. So before I open it up for the board to ask any questions, I think one of the things that I really took away from the conversations that students had during the advisory council is, again, lots of different opinions, but I think that there was a kind of a common theme that came from some of the conversations that there are times when it can be a distraction, and there are times that it can get in the way of them being able to focus on what they need to be focusing on in class. And just as you would expect, there's also a feeling of don't just take it away from us, and so I do think, to your point, having some conversations about is there some clarity in the rules? Is there some ways that we need to implement expectations to help to support the use of it is something that we can certainly look at. What I would say is that, again, as I'm kind of going through my process of just kind of, gathering some information, I took the opportunity when I met with the PTO Advisory Council, which are made up of our PTO presidents, to kind of have this conversation. It was split right down the middle. It was pretty 50-50 as to whether or not we should tighten that up or whether we, so over the next, couple of weeks and months, I'm going to start having some more in-depth conversations with staff, because I will say that in some of the conversations that I have, it's not something that really comes up very much. Now, that could be because it's just been a fact of life, and teachers in their classrooms have managed it, and it's so that's not to say that there aren't concerns. It's just something that hasn't really been a major topic of conversation. So the bottom line for me is that I don't feel it's one of those subjects where you just jump in and make unilateral decisions. I think it is something that needs to be a community conversation and involve a lot of different stakeholders. But I do appreciate the kids, the Student Advisory Council really kind of being almost the first ones to have the discussion. I think that really helps. Go ahead, AJ.
I have also something to add. So last week, me and Mr. Lapatino discussed about how we're going to get the information of how students use their phones, so we can get a better insight on how people have their daily activity and what we can do to improve. So we decided that maybe we could make a Google form for Cooper, Holmes, and London to take, so we have more information.
And I'm smiling and chuckling just a little bit because literally today, Mr. Lapatino emailed me a draft of a potential survey. So I haven't had a chance to take a look at it yet, but that is absolutely something that we'll be doing. So yeah.
So I have to tell you, I'm very impressed by your willingness to listen to your fellow students and observe what's going on in your classrooms at the same time, and being willing to speak to us about that. That's not an easy task for anybody. And so I really appreciate the three of your willingness to make that effort, to really understand what's happening and give us your views on it. And for me, at least, your views kind of parallel views that I have, that there's some work to be done. What that work is, we'll see. But I appreciate your hard work on this. Thank you very much.
I just have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Actually, first, the question for you, Mike, and that is, as you ruminate and collect information from various sources, you said you talked to the PTO presidents. Is there a desire to collect information more broadly from parents in the district?
Certainly. What I really want to do is to try to understand kind of what questions to ask, and getting some insight around, again, a lot of the information I'm gathering right now is anecdotal. It's just kind of, what the temperature is, feelings are, but it does help to clarify, in a survey, what types of questions would we ask to really try and get at the underlying issues. So any kind of organized effort that we would be making to try and either affirm the policies and the procedures that we have right now with cell phones, and or move in a different direction, would be with surveying of parents, of staff, of students. So absolutely.
And then for our student representatives, just your thoughts. I don't know if, when this was presented to you, that you were told what's going on in other municipalities and really other states. But in some school districts, students are required to put their cell phone in a locked Faraday pouch at the beginning of the school day and not be able to access it the entire day. How do you think your peers would react to that?
I myself think that that's a good idea, actually. That like you don't even get a chance to like even have that temptation just to like open it up or like have it with you. And I feel like if it's enclosed, people, oh, I can't open it anyway, so why bring it to class? But then I also have to wonder like what issues could come with that. Because what if the pouch doesn't open for somebody and then they don't have their phone? Or what if somebody loses it or loses their pouch? And how do you deal with that? Also, the programming for that has to be checked again. But overall, I think it's a great idea having your phone locked away, like for the whole school day. I think students and teachers could really benefit from that.
Santi, what do you think the average eighth grader at Cooper, how do you think they would feel about it?
At first, I feel like they wouldn't understand is that, like, they wouldn't understand it like, oh, we're taking away this. Then as a school year goes on, and then maybe like, oh, because they don't have my phone, I'm paying more and more attention in class, my grades are getting better. Oh, I could see why they did this. It's like growing up when your parents punish you and you finally see that they did this for a reason. That's how I believe that eighth graders will act.
You are wise beyond your years.
No kidding, man.
I didn't find out my parents were right till I was 23, so.
So to you guys, I think when my kids were in middle school, there was really no such thing as social media the way that it is now. So I would be curious as we dive into this, really information gathering experience to hear the difference between having your phones and the impact that social media has on your day-to-day lives. My kids are all in their 20s, but believe me, social media can be the cuts and it cuts as deep when you're older as it does when you're younger, the effect of what social media can do, both positive and negative. So in addition to not just the cell phones, I'd really like to hear about that social media part of it and how impactful that can be on a day-to-day basis. And, if there's anything that you could add to that, I would love to hear it. I had a feeling.
So I agree with Santiago that there really is a problem with phones, and I think locking up, like giving it to your home-based teachers, like in the morning if you're in 8th grade, like so you can't access it. Like maybe they can take attendance, like they can check, like if you have your phone and like you have to bring it, and they could put it in like a bin or container and keep it at their desk. So like at the whole day, from period to period, learning will be easier as long as Go Guardian's also on with the computer so that students can focus on what they're doing, and most likely the grades will go up. And like even after school, I also agree that you have to like do extracurriculars to keep yourself busy, because like in real life, you could become successful, and like you have to listen to your parents even if you hate them, or like not hate them, but they're trying to do what's best for you. Like even though they might restrict your phone time, like you have to understand that they're doing this for the better. Like you're never gonna win against your parents, and even though they restrict your phone time, that means that they're helping you focus on more real life making decisions and getting a job and making a family, like instead of scrolling on your phone and not learning anything. So I feel like this is very valuable. The lesson's very valuable, and I think maybe we should try doing that for a bit, like the idea of like giving your phone to the teachers so that students won't sneak their phones at school, which could help with their homework and like learning.
Are you like 25?
Did you have something to add?
Yeah,
Okay.
adding on to like your original question, I feel like that with social media, there's a lot of connection between people, and that's a lot of knowledge and like knowing stuff. But sometimes knowing what's happening isn't really the best. And like that communication, which is now more open than ever due to enhancements, like everyone has TikTok, Snapchat, and text message these days, that you could really like get a lot of information, and like what you see doesn't always necessarily be true. But if we see that and we see like, oh, more and more people are spreading that misinformation, then we could like, it could teach us that later in our lives, oh, like this is true when it's not. Unlike the old days where you had the newspaper, not a lot of people knew each other, like not as much compared to today. So I feel like that although it could be bad, still the communication, I could talk to family members in Australia or all over the world if my friends are out of country, out of state. So I feel like that social media might still be good. It's still new. We don't know how it's going to affect like our generation in the future, like how we'll grow up, or even the generation alphas and the younger kids.
So there's a movement nationally called Wait Till the 8th, which is a national movement to push parents to wait till kids are 8th graders to let them have cell phones. And so what I'm hearing from you guys is that's not necessarily maybe a bad thing.
Yeah, I just want to add to the idea of locking the phones up. I think it's a good concept, but like, I think that students would be very mad about that because they seem to be like a little obsessed with them because they use them at all times. Like even when they're in their lockers or somewhere far away, they still have their AirPods in and listening to music throughout the whole class, hiding them from the teachers. And yeah, even like in tests and all that, like map testing or things like that, they're using their AirPods. And I think it's a big distraction, but I don't think it'd be a very efficient way of locking it up because students are very distracted by it and they would get very mad.
True story. Yeah, I want to thank you all for your candor and your thoughts. I mean, this is, yeah, and I'm grateful for the discussion that we're sort of impromptu having tonight. As a parent of 2 middle schoolers, one of whom has a phone and one who we are considering, when to buy a phone for the second one, this is an issue that we talk about at home and that, they talk about at school. And there is no easy answer. There's no right or wrong answer. And that's why I think, this discussion is helpful for me to hear the different perspectives. And I definitely understand the side that, they're very disruptive during the school day. And, hopefully we can find some consensus on what to do there. I know as a parent, though, giving my child a phone gives them independence and allows them to go places, sometimes without me, with their friends, and know that I have that immediate communication. I think we become accustomed to having that immediate communication with our kids. And, I sort of take comfort in the fact that, while my daughter's phone sits in her locker during the school day where it should be, if she ever needed to call me, it's there. And God forbid, if the unthinkable happened or she felt unsafe at school, there's a means for her to communicate with me directly. So, I mean, there's, it's not a simple answer to say, no phones or phones. There's obviously a great deal of work that we need to do. I'm grateful for the discussion. I'm grateful for the candid perspectives that are being shared.
Dagmar, did you have anything?
No, I agree with everything.
Okay. Yes, this is when we agreed to have student representatives to the board. This is exactly what I was looking for, is this candid back and forth, because while I can understand your perspective, I don't have it directly. So it's wonderful to get it from people who are very willing to share their opinions respectfully, which is something that we don't always get. So I want to thank you for your insight on this, because it's a point of view that we might not have gotten. So thank you.
Nice job, everybody. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
This is not the last time we're going to be talking on this, I can
No,
guarantee.
no, definitely.
I got
Thanks, you guys.
Have a good night. Enjoy Friday.
Thank you. Just so you know, you're always welcome to stay. I mean, but I understand you
But you're
have
welcome to
things
go
like
home, eat dinner, and do
school.
homework too, so.
I'm pretty hungry, so.
Yeah, all right. Have a
Thank
good night,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, guys. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the 2024 IASB Resolutions Committee Report. Did I miss something?
Staff communications.
Oh, yeah. See, I'd written all my notes that went past there. Okay, so yes, please go on to yours, the staff communications.
So wanted to have our early childhood education staff, led by our director, Melissa Scaletta, do a presentation for the board on kind of highlighting our early childhood programs, and from there, go into a little bit of a conversation about a proposal that the administration would like to initially present for consideration. So Melissa, go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for letting me come and present and spotlight our amazing early childhood program tonight. It's great to hear from middle schoolers. So we're going to take a big jump back in the years and talk a little bit about our 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. All right, so just some principles of our program. I'm not going to read this to you, but just really focusing on some of that key language. Learning through active play, right? This is a play-based program, and they're learning every day through that play. That play is facilitating their social, emotional development, their communication development, their cognitive and motor development. Thinking about how we're building lifelong learners starting in a play-based program. These lifelong learners, starting in preschool, are becoming responsible, active members of our community, and hopefully they're going to soon sit here as our middle school representatives. As we are going through the program, our educational team is providing that differentiated instruction that's developmentally appropriate. Again, going back to that play-based approach, with a lot of the supports that you're going to see tonight that are embedded in our program. So our enrollment starts with screening, and children are screened in 2 ways. They come through the early childhood screening, which is offered as a Google form online. Parents sign up and they are assigned to a screener. They go through a screening process. We learn a lot about their development, their home life, all the things that have made them where they are at 3, 4, or 5. And then we determine if they're eligible based on the criteria that's given to us by the state. We also have students who come to us through early intervention. These are students who are receiving services before they turn 3 years old, and we run them through an evaluation within our program and determine where they are placed within our program. Our screening and evaluations, last year we did 404 community screenings. These are that QR code that parents are filling out and requesting that screening. We did 108 early intervention screenings, and we did 15 evaluations that came through some of that request through the community for a further evaluation. Just to look at where our program is and what it looks like, we have 2 different preschool classrooms. We have a preschool for all blended classroom that is 13 classrooms. It has a teacher and a teaching assistant and can go up to 20 students. And this year we are housed at Hawthorne, Tarkington, and Whitman, which has been a really great collaborative effort for our teachers and teaching assistants and our related service providers to be able to come together and have a full team. We have 4 classrooms at Hawthorne, 4 at Tarkington, and 5 at Whitman. So it really builds that collaborative environment to make our classrooms a better place for our students. Our early childhood special education classrooms, we have 3 of these classrooms, and they're all housed at Hawthorne. And this has 1 teacher and 2 teaching assistants with up to 10 students. Our enrollment as of now, we are at 432 students with a lot of different backgrounds. About 46% are Hispanic, 24% Asian, and 21% students are white. So we have a really big kind of spread of students within the program. Our program goes through an intense monitoring process. We are actually in our compliance window right now. And yes, they have visited us this week. We have about half of our classrooms that have gone through the compliance as of now, and we have about 2.5 weeks left in our compliance window. They go through the ECHRS 3 and they look for these different components within our classrooms. In the past, we have held gold status, and our teachers are working very hard to regain and continue that gold status. This monitoring process is 2.5 hours of someone observing in a teacher's classroom and watching their every move with students throughout that entire day. So they are really under a very rigorous observation for that. So those teachers who are finished have taken a sigh of relief, and those who are still waiting are a little bit on edge. Like I said in the beginning, we take a play-based approach. We're building that social emotional development, language, concepts, and gross and fine motor skills. So we're really working on the gamut of everything in preschool. Some of those supports that we have within the program that we're really grateful for, because they really do give our students more access to things. We have related service providers within our preschool classrooms. These individuals push into our classrooms and provide services for our students within that play environment, within the activities that they're doing. They don't disrupt their day. They join in, get on the floor, and start playing with those students to work on those different areas. We also have resource teachers. These teachers do co-teaching with our teachers, so they offer some like coaching opportunities. They team teach, they meet, they collaborate, they grow as a team. And we also have a diagnostic team. That diagnostic team is trained in the TPBA, the Transdisciplinary Play-Based Assessment. They are the team that does all of the evaluations out of early intervention and the evaluations that are handed to them from us that we need a little help with, right? They are working right now on training how to train others in our district on the TPBA. They have been recognized as one of the most far along teams in the state of Illinois, I would say, in this process. They are following the TPBA, they are working with trainers, they are perfecting their practice on a daily basis, and they have done a lot of work to get where they are, but they are doing a really great job on what they're doing. We have partnerships. So one of our biggest partnerships are our families. We offer a lot of parent engagement nights. These are engagement nights that our families can come and interact with students. Our teachers put together activities. We have guest singers. Last year we had Jim Gill for 2 nights, and he's coming back again this year. We're really excited. As you can see in some of those pictures, families are just learning to engage with their kiddos and really enjoy a great night and learn some new songs that they can sing at home. We also do parent workshops. So these are just specifically for parents and learning how to do some of those things that we want kiddos to be doing at home as well. And then we also open opportunities for families to come into our classroom and volunteer. Some of our other partnerships are with Clearbrook. They have our early intervention. YWCA does our early prevention program. We work with them to get referrals to them for that 0 to 3, and then those kiddos transition into our preschool program pretty flawlessly. We also partner with the Prospect Music Therapy. All of our preschool students get the opportunity to have music therapy every week. They get a 30-minute session every week, whether they're in the AM or the PM session. And the kids just absolutely love it, and so do the teachers. And then the Indian Trails Library, they support our teachers by getting book services for our classrooms. The teachers go there and pick up books. They get different activities. They do offer library events for our families and offer donations and library cards. And we are actually working with them in conjunction with some of our elementary schools to do some literacy nights for our preschoolers as well. That's it. Questions?
As Mike indicated, Melissa, this is the start of what's likely to be a longer conversation. So just for base information, for anybody who's either watching now or might be seeing it later, what exactly are we screening for when a child is first brought to us?
Sure, we're screening for all those components, the social emotional learning, the cognitive development, the communication skills, and their motor skills, and any concerns parents are having along the way as well. Yeah.
Well, it's a very impressive program. And, you know, I taught special ed at a little older kids, but the comprehensive nature of what we're doing is something I never saw in Chicago public schools when I was there. So thank you for that. One question for Mike. When are we going to dust off the projections of population growth? Because that'll affect this in general.
That's a good segue. So let's put a pin in that for a moment, and just if there are any other questions from the board about the program itself, and then we'll move into the actual proposal phase of the conversation.
I just have one, which is when's Jim Gill coming back?
April, I booked the date and I don't remember. I want to say the 10th, but I'm afraid to misspeak.
Okay, so if anybody did not get a chance to see him this past year when he was here, if you really want to see an early childhood night, Jim Gill is the night to go to. It was unbelievable. I was there both nights and it was impressive. So that's a good one not to miss for sure.
I didn't realize how popular he was until I said something to a preschool teacher that didn't work in the district, and she kind of fangirled, and I was like, oh.
So only because, as I told you when I came that night, my out of college job was a preschool teacher, and Jim Gill came in 1992 to Lake Forest Hospital where I was working to Deerhaven to do a concert. So then to get to connect with him many years later, and he looked at me and he goes, like, I know you. And I'm like, yeah, from like 20 years ago, you know me. So it was, but the experience of those family engagement events, the energy in them is amazing. And your staff did an unbelievable job. So if anybody gets a chance to join that one, it is definitely one to go to.
Then I will make the direct request to make sure that that night is put on the board calendar for us.
For sure.
Yes.
Good deal.
Anybody else? Okay.
Melissa, are there any students that you're screening that you can't take in because of size constraints?
Yes, we do currently have a wait list for our English speaking classrooms. We do have a little bit of a wait list. It's not super long at this point, but we do have a wait list.
Okay, thank you.
So on that, you know, one of the things that the board knows is over the past several years is we have, as a district, have really been looking to ensure that we were building out and enhancing the student support services, the educational programs to provide students with as much early intervention as possible to be successful in their elementary years and leading on to their middle school years. preschool, we know, early childhood education is very clear in the research that investments in early childhood education have massive returns on that investment. Depending on the source that you're looking at and depending on the situation, it has been gauged to even go as far as to say that for every dollar spent in early childhood education, you get a resulting return on investment of $7 or more. And that is over the lifetime of that individual. Students that are children that have had quality early childhood programming are stronger social emotionally when they come into the elementary setting, and that just continues to build. Their early literacy, their early numeracy support greater success in the classroom in their elementary years and beyond, and it just continues to build. When we're talking about as we know, 60% of our students are English language learners. There is a massive amount of support and ability to gain language. We know that little people are sponges, and when they are learning language, the earlier, the younger they are as they're learning language, the more successful they are with that language. And again, it's language in general, whether it's English, whether it's Spanish, whether it's both. I mean, dual language programs, so on and so forth. So really having those really robust programs as early as possible sets up our students and our children in the community to be as successful as we want them to be. And we also know that there are some real limitations. First of all, access to early childhood programming is not universal in any way, shape, or form. The concept of the state program being called Preschool for All, well, it's not for all. It is still an at-risk program. There's criteria for students to be involved in that program, and every little young person in our district does not have access to early childhood programming that we are offering. And so expansion of that program is something that we are continually looking for opportunities to do, and also have had to pass up. We have had some ability to seek additional funding from the state of Illinois at any given moment. In fact, over the past a year or so, our area has been considered to be a preschool desert. That changes at times, and so it can shift, but we have been labeled as a preschool desert at various points. And the state is always asking us to apply for preschool expansion grants. The problem is we don't have the space to do so. We also know, as we've been having active conversations, as we have been expanding our support programming, our English language learning programming, our bilingual programming, as we are meeting or attempting to meet the varied needs of our students, we only have so much geography in which to do it in our buildings. We only have so many classrooms, and these programs take more space. It's not just a general classroom that you are using. I mean, so as we've experienced at Kilmer, and Tarkington is very tight, and many of our buildings have very little available space. It's not necessarily that they are overcrowded. Although obviously, Kilmer in particular, we've seen large increases in their actual enrollment. But it is an issue of having enough classroom space to be able to meet those needs. So over the last several months, particularly as we've been dealing with the challenges that we have seen rather acutely at Kilmer, but we also have challenges in our other buildings. So for instance, with Tarkington, they have maybe one available classroom right now. I don't even think they have that. They're full, right? So if they had another section pop, we'd have to displace something, music, art, whatever the case may be. So as we have been looking at how do we try and address those needs across the district, One of the things that we have really started to talk about internally as an administration and really want to introduce publicly tonight is the opportunity to consider a new early childhood center, building a new, the preschool staff knows that this has been a dream. There have been several Muffins with Mike conversations that we've had about, wouldn't it be awesome? So, we have been doing some study, some research, some taking a look at our financial position. And we believe it is an appropriate time to begin having a conversation about whether or not for our community, it is the right time to move forward with potentially building a new early childhood center. This, as Melissa was talking about the programming, and the collaboration that our staff have with each other, and it is great collaboration, it's still divided amongst 3 different sites. So when you're thinking about, from an early childhood perspective, the specialization of the work that they do, of the related services that they do, the effectiveness, that if it was all contained under one roof, that was purely for the very special thing that is early childhood education, right? It's not first grade, it's not second grade, it's a very different thing. To have that level of specialization, to be able to be under one roof, is compelling in and of itself. But when you also then start taking a look at the need to have availability to expand, to be able to include more students to be able to be in that program. Currently the enrollment is about, just over 400. One of the things that we think, as we are really taking a look at this, is that, we could be servicing as much as 8, correct me if I'm 900 students that early childhood. What was the number we thought we would? Yeah, I mean, if we really explore everything, and Head Start, additional preschool for all, potentially even looking at, is there interest for a tuition-based preschool program? I mean, there's an ability to really widen out the number of students that we could, be including in some of our programs. So, we really think that this is a highly important conversation to have. Obviously it's a major investment. It's something that we need to be very thoughtful about. We really need to dig very deep into a lot of things, how, it is financed, how big of a facility are we talking about? How many classrooms are we planning for? Arlen, to your point, we did have a demographic analysis done in 2023. That analysis is being updated as we speak. Because, 2023, not too long ago, but things have shifted, as we've seen, with the influx of various populations from Ukraine, sometimes hard things to be able to pin down in a demographic analysis just by looking at a live birth rate. But we have a little bit more time that since we did that, to maybe there might be some additional data that we can capture and just kind of try and predict. It's always predictive, right? And and somewhat anecdotal, where you're seeing the homes that are being sold and, maybe some of the older couples moving out and who is coming in, younger couples that have kids or planning to have kids. And so there's some science there that isn't perfect, right? But we are absolutely getting that kind of analysis updated so we can have that information. So, it's really something that the administration is recommending that we begin to have some pretty in-depth conversations around. And to that end, what I would recommend and really ask for the board's consideration on this is that relatively soon, hopefully, before the holidays begin, that we can convene a committee of the whole meeting So it's not a meeting that, the board would be taking any action at or, kind of making any kind of determinations. But it's an extended period of time that we, as a board, can really dig in on this and start, taking a look at what our options are. What does this mean in terms of finance? What does this mean in terms of long-term budgeting? What are the opportunities for building? Where would that possibly be located in the district? Is it, an add-on to an existing structure? Is it a new building altogether? There's a lot of different things that we can need to consider and talk about. So, what I would ask is if the board is willing to start having this conversation in depth, is to, give us the opportunity to put together a committee of the whole meeting. Again, like I said, I would like to think that we could do that before the holidays, not before Thanksgiving, but before, the winter break, maybe the first week or so in December. And really just start to dig in on this and coming out of that first conversation to get a sense of this is something that we want to continue to really consider and talk about and plan for. And there's a lot of different kind of benchmarks I think we would need to hit before we would put something in front of you to say yes or say no, right? There's a lot of conversations that I think we need to have, but we need to get started with those if that's something that the board is willing to do. What I want to make sure that I say from the outset is that while this will help in terms of freeing up space in some of our elementary buildings, it doesn't solve the entire problem, right? Right now, our preschool programs outside of Hawthorne are being held, hosted at Whitman and Tarkington. So, it will help, but it's one piece of being able to address some of our classroom space concerns that are around the district. But it also does give us some ability to take a look at, where other programs are currently hosted, and can those be relocated to kind of spread out a little bit more. It really does give us some additional options. Also, that first floor of Hawthorne, what does that future use look like? We do have some classroom spaces there. We wouldn't be looking to make that an attendance center, but there might be some options of different, support programming, parent programming, whatever the case may be, that can, be in that facility as well. So a lot of things to kind of consider and talk through and just kind of start to envision as we move forward. So, I included in your packet an initial kind of proposal, which I've really kind of talked through here. It's not containing any kind of real specific, it would cost this much, or it would, those are things that I think we would definitely get into in a committee of the whole meeting. But I think it's, we feel very strongly that this is an idea extremely worthy of serious consideration, and that we have some ability to do this. We wouldn't be bringing it to you if this was just a pipe dream, and we didn't think that there was a very strong ability to actually make this happen. But again, it's a big thing, so we want to be able to get your willingness to have the conversation and then go ahead and start having. So,
Okay, questions, Phil?
Initial reaction, which is what you're asking for at this point. We're in the education business. That's what we do. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Having come to a place where we could possibly put together an early childhood program, I think makes entirely perfect sense, certainly. I think instinctively, intuitively, we all know, and everybody out there knows, that the more that we can do to provide early childhood, quality early childhood, will reap benefits throughout our local folks and throughout the country in terms of others can model that. So certainly it's worthy of going into an early childhood program. There's no question about that. I think it seems like it's not far-fetched financially from what we've been able to do over the years. we're at that point where we can seriously look at that and entertain that. I see no reason why we would not want to take that next step and explore the specifics further for our community, for the kids now and in the future. You know, it's like the old movie, if we build it, they will come, and we will have a full group.
We have some evidence of that, yeah, right.
Anyway, those are my reactions.
I don't know if you just want to go around. One of the things that, yes, this area is definitely a preschool desert, unfortunately. I would love, as we do the committee of a whole meeting, things have changed obviously since pre-pandemic to now, to have a greater understanding of what the community offerings are as far as preschool is concerned, both nonprofit and for-profit, and the accessibility in which those are for our families. There are a wide variety from, you know, more parochial, you know, preschools that are faith-based. You know, our high schools both offer some component of early childhood education on a very small scale. The park districts, and then we have some newcomers in the for-profit early childhood lane as well that are not always accessible. And from a cultural standpoint, what's offered on a cultural level for preschool. But I think this is absolutely something that as we move into education for all and really addressing the needs of the community, preschool is top on the list as far as getting kids ready to walk in the door long before they're kindergartners. But that would be, in addition to the information that we discussed, that would be some information I think that would be super helpful to the discussion that day. But I'm 100% in support of moving forward with the exploration.
Awesome, thank you. Arlen, do you have any comments?
I do. Obviously, it's a great idea. Stepping back, though, when we built this building, I had my share of agita worried about us funding this and magnitude of it in the future and so forth. And when we undertook the healthcare center, similar concerns about having lived through with Phil financial years that were pretty tough and pretty tight in this district, and watching other districts around us struggle right now. So those are my concerns. However, I think it's a fabulous idea. We should conduct the discussion. We should see what the opportunities are and whether we can really fund it and sustain it on a going forward basis. And of course, see what the population looks like going forward. And that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Harlan, you and Phil aren't the only two who are here in the difficult times, but beyond that, earlier today, Mike and I shared a conversation about some of my thoughts, and I'm not going to share them except for the fact that I do support the idea of going forward with the conversation. In fact, I suggested to Mike a 6 to 8 hour meeting, got some rather strong pushback on that. One of the things, however, I just would like to mention, whether it's this building, the playgrounds, the library, the all-day kindergarten, all the things we've done over the last few years, we've done with great support of the community. We asked them what they wanted, and this is what they got. As we proceed, if we proceed, we should make sure there's an element of talking to the community again, like we did before the referendum, to make sure they're on board with this as well. I don't think there's any reason to think that they wouldn't be. This is a phenomenal opportunity for their students, for their children, or their grandchildren, in case may be. But we've been successful of late because we have worked so closely with our community. And as we do this, I hope we do this as well on this project.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica?
I mean, we've had a number of conversations through the years about this. You know, you have my support to certainly continue to discuss and develop this idea. worked my entire professional life in support of public education, and the growth of the littlest ones, from birth onward, has been, obviously an idea that I support. I think I have a great deal to learn about the reality of building our own preschool here in the district, as much as I would love to say, yes, absolutely, let's do it. It's a great idea. There's a lot that I need to consider, and that I think as a board we need to consider, and as Bill pointed out, as a community we need to consider. As a parent who relied on KinderCare for many years to educate and keep my children safe, I would have loved to have an actual official preschool with licensed teachers and related services and staff for them. And that wasn't an option for our family because of the dearth of options here in our community. I do want to have more conversations about the idea of tuition-based. While I think that could provide healthy financial support for the longevity of the building and the program, I want to make sure that that's not going to create an obstacle for families that, would desperately love to have a preschool program, but, simply can't afford, the families that rely on, neighbors and grandparents and family members to help watch their kids. If they had a preschool option, they'd love to have it, but we want to make sure that it's not, out of their pocket. If there's grant funding or, multitude of options, I want to make sure that that's given due consideration so that we can truly, allow all the people in our community who have little ones to really take advantage of, because it's in District 21, I know would be an incredible program here.
Thank you. Dagmara?
Yeah, I will not repeat all the comments of the former board members because I do agree with them. But the one I do feel strongly about that, we do really need to take an assessment of, and as we have been doing with the decisions made across the district, is the community sentiment and appetite for this. And I'm eager to engage in the evaluation and review of this proposal, so looking forward to it.
Awesome, thank you. And I'll just add a few things, because I am in agreement with actually everybody here, which is nice to hear. Yes, I want to get more input from the community, but I also want to make sure that our community does remember that, like Dr. Connolly said, if we spend $1 now, we can save up to $7 later, which will also relate to if our kids are ready for kindergarten, they'll be ready for first grade, they'll be ready for third grade. The all focus on test scores, I can't see that this would hurt that at all. It would help, because those kids will be ready to learn and they won't be so far behind, they won't have to catch up. So yes, I am all for a committee of the whole meeting.
Very much appreciate that, and the support for being able to move forward and have this exploration. What I'll do, because again, there's a number of support folks, your financial analysts, your bond agents and people like that I want to make sure are able to be at this committee of the whole meeting. So I'm going to, in my weekly update, suggest some dates, probably put a doodle poll together, and just kind of see what the availability is, match it with those folks that, from PMA, from, the other support folks, Baker Tilly and so on, that we want to make sure are at the table to have that conversation, and then we'll go ahead there. But again, my intent here would be able to have this committee of the whole conversation before our winter break begins, because again, it's the first conversation. Well, I guess this is the first conversation, but that is the first in-depth conversation. It certainly won't be the last. So we do want to get rolling on this.
And just to say one thing, because I know we have some of the ladies in the audience, we are already running a top-notch, absolutely incredible early childhood program. The standards that, as someone who's been through a NACE accreditation and knows what that looks like, we are hitting, when you have the opportunity to go there and sit in those classrooms, to me, this is an expansion of already amazing work that we're doing. It just gives us the opportunity to bring that out into the community, because this is a deserted area because we don't have a lot. And so I think as we continue the conversations and pull the community in, but we are running a top-notch, amazing, high-quality program now, and this will give us the opportunity to give that accessibility to more and more children.
Awesome, thank you.
And thank you to Melissa and the entire early childhood staff for being here tonight, and great presentation. We will absolutely be having more conversations. You will be part of those things. But I think this is exciting to be able to have the conversation, and I thank the board for taking this first tiny leap of faith. There's going to be a lot of leaps of faith to get to this, if we're successful, but I'm excited by the opportunity, so thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, now we can go back to what I was talking about before. The IASB Resolutions Committee report, attached on your agenda is the report. Fortunately, they have made it much easier this year. They reorganized the way they're doing the agenda. So as you read through it, please everyone read through. The first group of resolutions are the ones that they are saying they suggest do adopt. Then they have the second group, which they suggested do not adopt, but are available to be brought back and see if they want to reconsider them. I do not have that list yet. I am there's a webinar at noon on Halloween, trick or treat, where they will go over everything. And I believe at that point, we may have the list of the ones that they have decided that will be brought back, and I will bring that forward. So at next month's meeting, everyone can confirm that they agree or anything that they disagree and on how they want me to vote at the delegate assembly. So please review that when in your copious spare time, or when you can't sleep, because that will help. Okay, now we have reached the public comment section of our meeting. The board will allow any individual to share a public comment for up to 3 minutes. Such comments should not include discussion of personnel matters, which should be brought directly to the attention of the appropriate school official. During public comment, the board and administration listen to comments but may not respond to the public. Leticia, have we received anything?
No, we have not.
Okay, Mike, do we have anything online? Okay, and Cass, have you received anything? Okay, that was nice and quick. Okay, the next section on the agenda is the consent agenda. This month, we did not receive any new Freedom of Information requests. There are conference and travel expenses for the board to approve, which are for the attendance of 4 board members at the IASB North Cook Division meeting on September 30th, and 3 board members for the EdRed annual kickoff luncheon on October 18th, for a grand total of $358.89. Phil, did you have the opportunity to review the financials?
I did. There were a couple different runs. This is the first time in a long time that on the latest one this week, I had absolutely no questions on.
Wow.
So Michael, thank you, and the team. I appreciate that.
Okay, may I please get a motion to, do we need anything pulled?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Nothing pulled.
Stacy?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
Dagmara?
Yes.
I vote yes. Debbie?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
Arlen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, we have reached the new business section of the agenda. We have one item, the approval of the 2024 tentative levy and notice of presentation of the final levy for approval. Mr. DiBartolo.
Thank you. As you know, annually, this is where the district first approves a proposed tentative levy, and then in a month or 2 months, by December, approves the final levy. And the levy is how the district gets the taxpayer funds that we have, that fund from local property taxes. So just a few terms that are important to knowing basics about the levy for those who aren't familiar with it. The levy is the amount we request to be extended for collection from property taxes. Just because we ask for it doesn't mean we get it. That's all based upon different factors of the finances that Cook County has when these matters are taken to them. The extension is the actual dollar amount that gets billed to taxpayers. On top of the actual extension itself, Cook County, based upon different factors and lack of payments, assumes a 3% loss of cost factor, and it's added to the levy extension once that's finalized. And then the collection is the actual dollar amount that we get from our property taxpayers, which are made up of residential, commercial, industrial taxpayers that own property within our boundaries. The basic cycle operates on a triennial assessment process. That a triennial assessment, as meant by triennial, means every 3 years. The Cook County goes out and reassesses all the property within a certain area. Our last assessment, the last triennial, was in 2022. So next year will be up for our next assessment. Typically in that reassessment period, the property values go up, and then during the next 2 years, they start to come down a little bit, only to be reassessed in that third year and go up again. But that is the basis by which the collections that go out get established, because the appraised value is set and put into the formula. Like I said, next year will be our next reassessment. After the assessment process is done and those are issued, it goes to the review of assessment decisions, which is the board of review, taxpayer complaints, different things to determine fairness of assessments. That's why you see kind of an up and down. And there's a new portion to our levy that we collect that isn't in our control. It's based off of property tax appeals and what gets given back. And then the third step is the state equalization, which is meant to go ahead and make it fair amongst counties. Each county gets a equalization factor that equalizes assessments based upon this factor to create what they say are equitable assessments across the counties. The equalization factor for 2024 must have dropped to the next page. It's just under 3. So it's about 2.9 for the equalization factor, which goes into the formula for going ahead and seeing where our property taxes go. The last part, step 4 and 5, the levy itself, this is the process we're in now. We have to go ahead and present and put up to the board at least 20 days before we ask for adoption, the tentative levy. If we're going to have a truth in taxation hearing, that requires notice of no more than 14, but no less than 7 days. That is required if we're going to ask for above the 5% that we're entitled to get based upon PTEL. PTEL is the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law. It's created in the mid-90s to go ahead and make sure that, especially for Cook County and some of our friends, that we didn't go above 5% in the collections, because there was an ability to go ahead and levy a little bit more loosely than there is now for us. And then the levy needs to be filed by the last Tuesday in December. This year it's New Year's Eve. We'll get it filed before then so that we're not partying down there. And then after this is all said and done, they go ahead and do the extension, which is how everybody gets their bill. And the levy gets collected over kind of 2 portions of school years, because the first half goes out in the spring, second half in the fall. So it hits in 2 different fiscal years. Like I said, PTEL was designed to go ahead and limit to 5% or CPI, whichever was lower. The last 2 years, we've been blessed with over 5% CPI, so we've collected the max. This year's CPI is 3.4%, so we will be getting less than we have in prior years, but you'll see, based upon new property and some other factors, that the district is actually in pretty good shape. And one of the things to remember about PTEL was your debt service extension base was established at that time based upon how much debt you had out. District 21 was very conservative, so we have a very small debt service limit, so we can't go out and ask for, or not even ask, but issue bonds for funds for capital projects and other items that other districts can who have a higher debt service level. So the collection of the levy proceeds is really important for District 21. We don't choose to balloon levy, which is going over 5%, because doing that tends to create a bit of a stir in the community, because people think we're going after, some districts balloon levy up to 20%. We don't do that because we don't want people to think their taxes are going up 20%. We want them to have a realistic picture of what that looks like. And also, we have a high enough EAV in the district that even going up to 4.9, 4.99% allows us to capture, if we had a magnificent year in real property, a larger amount than most districts would get. So on to kind of what's been happening. This is the extension from last year. This is actually what we collected. Last year's extension collected, as you see, about $107 million for District 21. That is before you figure in, one, our debt service. Our debt service is the bonds that are issued that the county sets the rate for. We ended up last year at $6.78 million in the debt service levy, but we do not control that. That's not something we ask for. That's based upon either the debt that's been issued by the board under its DSEB or through referendum bonds. However those items were issued, that's what gets collected. So that's not part of what we ask for, but it is part of what we collect. So like I said, that would be in the levy alone last year, it would be roughly $114 million. We then got another $1.65 million last year based off of property tax recapture. What happened is the state went ahead and put into law a formula that said, whatever you've given back in refunds, we will go ahead then and reimburse you the following year. They promise that the taxpayer doesn't get taxed then for what they receive back, because there's formulas that go into making sure they're protected. But they didn't think it was fair that you're supposed to get X amount of dollars, the appraisals and the assessments have been made, and so they feel those are the dollars you should get. So they go ahead and give us an additional last year, 1.65 million, the year before it was 1.9 million. So that gave us a total levy extension and collection of $115,656,000 and change. So that is the local tax dollars that you hear when we talk about local funds, other than CPPRT and then TIF distributions that we rely on. Those are obviously our largest sources of revenue to the district. One of the things that I would point your attention to is those 5 years, the last being what we're going to get this year, of EAV. EAV is your equalized assessed value. It's basically the worth of your property in your district. It's significant to note that the district has a very large EAV. It was over $2 billion last year, 2.4 to be exact. And so that's what the properties are, what your property taxes are based off of, is how much is your property worth? And then there's a limiting rate, a tax factor that goes into that. Those are combined, and that's what the levy becomes. It's noteworthy in that you see our EAV has fluctuated greatly since 2020. 2020, we had a $50 million jump, and that wasn't even our triennial. Then in 2021, you see there was a $162 million decrease. That decrease was in the year that the Cook County assessor decided he was going to level all of the property values. So we lost 7.5% of our total equalized assessed value. Now, our property tax collection didn't go down because we got new property in that year and there were other factors, but that did harm the dollars that came to the district. And then you see the next year, 2022, which was our triennial reassessment, it went back up by double that. So the nice thing about EAV for taxpayers is that it is inverse proportions. So as your equalized assessed value goes up, your tax rate goes down, and that's part of PTEL's protection and making sure that you never get hit with a major tax bill. Last year, we had a almost $46 million increase in EAV. We also had significant new property last year. So last year, you see we had $15.2 million. That's one of the largest numbers that we've had in a long time. So this is how we got to what we collected over the last basically part of this school year in the fall. This is the first year in a long time that we actually had collections in July rather than almost December. So it actually hits our cash flow and our investments nicer, so we'll be able to make a little bit more money. And we hope that this process continues moving forward. So now on to what the tentative levy is for this year. Again, this is the ask. This isn't what we're guaranteed to get. This isn't what we know we'll get, but we have a pretty good idea. This year, the equalized assessed value has come out with some good numbers. Not final yet, but we're getting there. We have the equalization factor. There's a lot of known factors to this year's levy. The upper right-hand corner is the CPI. That's what we're guaranteed to get on top of what we've gotten in years past. So that's 3.4%. That does not include our new property. That's just if you took what we got last year, we should get 3.4% more than that this year. Again, sometimes there are odd calculations. Somebody's tax bill goes up more than that, but we're only getting the 3.4% that we get from CPI. Based upon the extension for this year, the guess is that we will get about $115.7 million. When I say that that's the guess, it's because we protect ourselves against a major new property year. And like I said, last year at $15 million was a pretty significant year for us. You can see what the trend has been from 2020 to now. $29 million in 2020, but a major TIF in Wheeling came back onto the tax rolls that year, which accounted for the vast majority of those dollars. 2021 was a small year, 2.7 million, although prior to 2020, we were between about 1.5 and $4 million for a number of years. This really speaks to what Wheeling has done with their TIFs and what Arlington Heights and Buffalo Grove have done to grow their communities, and why we're starting to see now 2022, $7 million. Last year, $15.2 million. There was a small Prospect Heights TIF that came back onto the rolls. And this year, the reason we say 17.4 million, there is a new Wheeling TIF that's coming back onto the rolls this year, and they've already released what the value of that property is, and it's $17.4 million. So we know for a fact that our new property will be at least 17.4 million, which is why we look at about $115.7 million. But if you look at that boxed in number, the 3.645 million that's there, that is the 3.4% from CPI. The other number is the tentative number, the 4.8 million, because that's based on new property, and so we have to see where that comes in. But again, one of the things we do is we don't balloon levy over 5%, because we don't want to scare taxpayers. The truth in taxation hearing isn't necessary. It makes it more formal. Next month, we'll come back with basically the same numbers unless we see a reason to tweak something. But this is what we plan on approving. And what I would say is we're at least at a place where we're going to be higher than we were last year, which is good because that offsets some of the federal funding we've lost through ESSER dollars. It keeps us in a good place, and you want to see your tax collections keep going up because that means the economy is strong and the housing market is strong in the area. So this is where we're at right now. There will be a couple new pieces to the presentation next month because there is some final legislation that's now in place that requires us to report on certain numbers. Numbers that are meant to make sure that districts don't look like for-profit entities, making sure that they don't have 2.5 times their expenditures in reserve. I can guarantee you we don't have that. But we do have healthy reserves that allow us to go ahead and have the conversation and plan pretty strongly for moving forward with an early childhood center if it's agreeable to the board and to the community. So this is what we'll bring back next month. Again, the final process, tonight's the tentative levy. Next month, we'll approve the actual levy certificate, and then we'll go ahead and file the levy after that, sometime well before December 31st. Any questions?
Bill?
Not a question, just a comment. You spoke of making a little bit more due to the timely collection of taxes this year. Just to clarify to the public, we're not making more money. We're not losing money because the county isn't getting their tax bills done in a timely manner. Historically, for those of us who've been here for a long time, we've had to do things like borrow to cover their shortfalls. We're simply getting the amount that the taxpayers think we should be getting at the time we should be getting it.
Correct.
So I just don't want this perception that somehow we're getting extra money. No, we're not getting extra money. We're getting what we should be getting.
No, we'll make more interest off that money because we'll get it early and it'll be in our pockets longer. But
right, but
yeah,
we're
we're not
supposed to be
getting it.
getting
Yeah,
it.
we're supposed to be getting it, and yes, nobody's refunded us the interest that we lost for the last few years. So,
Which Wheeling TIF is rolling off this year?
you know, I knew you were going to ask that. It is.
I did warn you that I was going to ask it,
Yeah,
though.
it is. It's the South Milwaukee one, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So, and I will verify that and send an email, but and I'll have it for next month, but I'm almost positive it's the South Milwaukee
That'd be
one.
great, thank you.
Anyone
Need a
else?
motion from us?
And then I need a motion, yes.
So be it resolved, the Board of Education accepts the estimated 2024 tax levy as presented and place the approval of the 2024 final aggregate tax levy on the agenda for the November 14th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Education.
Thank you.
Phil?
Aye.
Dagmara?
Yes.
I vote yes. Debbie?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
Arlen?
Aye.
Stacy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. And the last item is that the next regular Board of Education meeting will be on Thursday, November 14th. That is the second Thursday of the month due to the joint annual conference. May I please get a motion to adjourn?
Debbie?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
I vote yes. Stacy? Yes. Arlen?
Aye.
Dagmara? Phil? Motion carries.
Okay, and we are adjourned. Thank you.